Well, a hearty shalom to you. Jeffrey Seif here. Glad to be working with you through the book of Acts. I know I say that every time I do this, and I mean it every time I say it. I mean that sincerely too. It's an honor to be a Bible teacher, and I'm honored that you care to look this way, if but for a moment. We're in Acts chapter 15, and we're working through a real watershed moment in the history of early Christianity, so-called. Actually, it's a Messianic Jewish movement. These are Jews who were turned on to Jesus. And what's happening is individuals of non-Jewish extract are joining the ranks, and there are questions that are raised. What's incumbent upon these non-Jews? Need they become Jewish like us in order to be full-fledged members? Well, Peter's weighed in on it. And we're told in chapter 15, verse 12, then, I'll just read it, the whole group, and this is a council gathered together to consider the matter of all the heavyweights in the early Jesus movement. Then the whole group became silent and were listening to Barnabas and Paul. It's good to become silent sometimes and to listen. Peter had endorsed and shared, and others as well. So now that gives them a platform to speak from. And they described in detail the signs and wonders God had done through them. Talked about the miracles of this gospel expanding to individuals of non-Jewish extract. You know, it's good to talk about the signs and wonders because miracles confirm the message. And by the way, I think that just the whole story of this Messianic Jewish Bible, the Tree of Life, is a miracle. How Danya dared to dream it and scheme it is absurd to think that that would come from her. But, and I'm not mocking her, I'm saying it was a miracle. And she would say as much as well, that she was the torchbearer for a divine vision. I and others just helped facilitate really what began in her heart. And it's good to see miracles attend the ministry. Just breakthroughs is no other way to describe it. The money came in to do the project is amazing. To get dozens and dozens of Messianic Jewish scholars together to work on something is amazing. Just a miracle. The endorsements, the credibility. I'm reading to you from a Bible that was produced by Baker Books, our Tree of Life version. It's a major producer of Christian Bibles and literature in North America. Go figure, it's a miracle. Well, here the miracle is that non-Jews are coming to faith. Today you look at a Jew who believes in Jesus, oh my God, that's a miracle. They were all Jews back then. It was a miracle to see a non-Jew. And after they finished speaking, Jacob answered, or Yaakov, James. Brothers, listen to me. Simon has described how God first showed his concern by taking from the Gentiles a people for his name. The words of the prophets agree as it is written. And then he quotes Amos chapter 9, verses 11 and 12, where this new worship tabernacle, the tabernacle of David, is going to be raised. And then appended to that is, so the rest of humanity, in verse 17, may seek the Lord, namely all the Gentiles who are called by name. It was always God's plan, by the way, that this God thing would go global, not just be in the hands of Orthodox Jews that study the literature day in, day out. That I'm not trying to speak diminutively of those, as much as to say that the good news of God's will, his ways, his revelation isn't just for Jews. It's for you. It was always intended to go global. In the primal promise in Genesis, I will bless those who bless you, Abraham, and curse those who curse you. And in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. It was always supposed to be a global thing. To the Jew, through the Jew, to the world. That's just the way God opted to do it. Someone had to carry the torch. You know, if you look at the Olympics, different runners carry the torch. Someone gets the job to light it. And the person that carries the torch and lights the fire isn't better than others that ran. It's just that's his or her particular assignment. And the Jews were destined to carry the torch. But unfortunately, a lot of Jews lost sight of that, save for the ultimate Jew, who was Jesus, Israel's Messiah. He wasn't really doing a new thing in advocating for this message outward to the world as much as retooling the old thing and bringing it to fulfillment. In verse 19, all that said, therefore I judge not to trouble those from among the Gentiles who are turning to God. The debate was, listen, are we going to tell these people they need to be circumcised, they need to do this, they need to do that, according to the promulgations of the Mosaic economy for the Hebrew people? It's my understanding that the word is trouble them not. And I think that's important, by the way, because one of the things I've discovered in the world today, particularly, there's the whole Jewish roots movements, and a lot of people are kind of turning on to the Jewish roots of the Christian faith. Some are really pushing it to the extreme. In the Messianic Jewish movement, within the classical center, none of the scholars, rabbis within the movement think that it's imperative for individuals of non-Jewish extract to adhere to the Mosaic economy because of the text right here, among other things. Trouble them not. But there are individuals parading around as Jews who aren't real Jews, who are pressing in the name of Jewish roots and going back to the original, they're pressing that individuals of non-Jewish extract need to adhere. No, the principles of Moses, yes. The particulars, not so. Because he says, trouble them not. And then he goes on to note in verse 20, there are a few things that kind of hark back to what's called mitzvot b'nei Noach, the commandments of the sons of Noah. It's understood in the Jewish world that non-Jews needn't adhere to Moses, save for the fact to be pious. Best they abstain from contamination of idols. That speaks for itself. From sexual immorality. That speaks for itself. From what is strangled and blood. You know, Jews are so ethical that if you look at kosher food isn't just the right kind of food, the right kind of meat. It's got to be killed the right kind of way and as quickly, as painlessly as possible. And so that's even noted here. You know, if you prepare food that way, where you regard life as valuable and you see sanctity in life, and you're going to be kindly disposed toward livestock, even that you slay for your own eating purposes, which is okay to do. If you're tenderly inclined toward the act of taking life at that level, then you're going to be inclined to be gracious toward human life among Homo sapiens. It's going to translate. Well, what a word. And he goes on to say in verse 21, it's kind of a summary statement about, there's something of a recognition. You know, there are Gentiles all over the place that love the Lord, he says. For Moses from ancient generations has had in every city those who proclaim him, since he is read in all the synagogues every Sabbath. We observe too when we look at the Newer Testament that as Paul travels around in these synagogues, there's always Gentiles there, people that are attracted to. And there are a lot of non-Jewish people that love the Lord's people, and they love the Jewish perspective and culture, and I'm glad for that. So are they. And I'm glad for you. Thanks for going with me on this journey. See you again in a week. Ciao.